Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 66.
Usually when you analyze this book, you get stuck in the high-level stuff, the mythology, the poetry, the tragic destiny of the aristocracy. But today we're going downstairs. We're going straight into the servants' quarters.
It's such a fascinating shift in perspective. You really can't understand the pressure cooker of the Gia household without understanding how the staff sees the management.
Right.
We get exactly that. We are essentially eavesdropping on a very candid, very unsafe for work performance review of the main character, Bayou.
And it is not the glowing review you might expect. We're looking at a conversation between the Yu sisters, that's Yu Urji and Yu Sanji, and a servant named Shinger. And honestly, Shinger is brutal.
Oh, absolutely bold.
Like, if I were Bayou and I heard this, I'd be completely devastated.
Yeah.
But it sets up this incredible exploration of public reputation versus private character.
That's the core theme here, really. It's the gap between who Bayou actually is and who the world thinks he is. And then right after that, the text pivots hard into one of the most intense romantic vows in all of literature.
Yes, the Yu Sanji situation,
Hmm.
which is wild. But let's start with the gossip. Hinger is basically holding court, and he starts tearing into Bayou. He doesn't call him evil exactly. He calls him, well, useless.
Useless is the subtext, yeah. But the specific critique is about his refusal to play the game. Shinger points out that Bayou is the only one in the family who hasn't attended a proper school.
Right.
And he uses this phrase that I think we really need to unpack. He talks about the 10 years by the cold window.
I love that image. 10 years by the cold window. It sounds so romantic, but in this context, it's a grind, isn't it?
It is the ultimate grind. It refers to the Confucian ideal of spending a decade in total isolation, just studying the classics to pass the civil service exams.
Because that was the only way up.
Exactly. That was the only ladder to legitimacy for a man of his class. And Jinger is saying that Bayou has looked at that ladder and just walked away. He dislikes reading. He dislikes what they call the economy of the world.
Which, to a servant whose entire job security depends on the family staying in power?
Yeah.
I mean, that must look like absolute insanity.
It looks like self-sabotage. Jinger actually calls him mad or eccentric.
Yeah.
He says, what he says people don't understand. What he does, people don't know.
Wow.
To the staff, Bayou is a black box. They can't predict him, and that makes them extremely nervous.
There's this one specific line Jinger uses that really stuck with me. He's talking about Bayou's looks versus his personality. He says outsiders see a handsome, clear-looking guy and assume he's smart. But then he says Bayou is outwardly clear but inwardly turbid.
Inwardly turbid, yeah. It's a devastating insult in this culture.
It sounds like he's calling him a swamp. But turbid here doesn't mean evil, right? It just means muddled.
Right, muddled or chaotic. Think of clear as meaning structured, ordered, following the rules. Turbid means messy, blending things that shouldn't be blended. And Jinger explains exactly why he thinks this. He complains that Bayou has no rigid, soft distinction.
This is the part that feels so modern to me, yet so backward to the servant. Jinger is mad because Bayou hangs out with the maids too much.
Yes.
He says when Bayou is happy, there's no high or low. He treats the servants like friends. And when he's upset, he just ignores them. He doesn't yell, he doesn't beat them, he just checks out.
And that terrifies the servant class.
Why, though? I mean, if you're listening to this today, you'd think a boss who doesn't beat you is a good boss.
In a modern context, sure. But in a strict feudal hierarchy, safety comes from order. If the master acts like a master, the servant knows their exact place.
Right.
If the master dissolves that boundary, if he's turbid, and mixes the high and low, then the whole structure collapses. Jinger literally says, therefore nobody fears him. And to Jinger, a master who isn't feared is defective. He's muddled.
So Bayou's egalitarianism, which is usually what we see as his best trait, is interpreted by his own staff as a lack of intelligence. That is such a fascinating disconnect.
It's tragic, really. Bayou is trying to connect on a human level, but the system he lives in simply doesn't have a category for that, so they slap the label madness on it.
But not everyone at the table buys a Jinger's analysis. And this is where Yusinji steps in. I have to say, Seiji is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters in this section. She doesn't just nod along with the gossip. She actively pushes back.
She acts as the ultimate defense attorney here. She argues that Bayou isn't muddled at all. He's just operating on a totally different internal logic. She attributes it to him being raised among women, which gave him this feminine gentleness that men like Jinger just can't decode.
And she brings receipts. She tells two specific stories to prove that what looks like madness is actually extreme consideration. The first one is the funeral story with the monks.
Yes, this is a classic misunderstanding trope. There was a funeral service. Monks were circling the coffin, doing their rites, and Bao Yu goes and stands right in front of the women, totally blocking them.
Which from the outside looks like he's being a total jerk. He's crowding them. He's in the way. Everyone thought he was rude or just ignorant of basic etiquette.
Exactly. But Sanji reveals the back-end logic. Bao Yu later explained that he was worried the monks who were traveling and maybe hadn't washed recently would smell bad.
He was a human shield.
Yes. He was effectively acting as a human shield against body odor.
That is hilarious. He was protecting their noses. But the key thing is he didn't tell anyone what he was doing, did he?
No, and that is very Bao Yu. He does the considerate thing, but he doesn't explain it, so he just takes the hit to his reputation.
The second story is even more subtle. It's the teacup incident. I actually had to read this one twice to catch the nuance.
It's a blink and you miss it moment, for sure. So Bao Yu had been drinking tea. Sanji asked for some. A servant went to pour fresh tea into Bao Yu's used cup, and Bao Yu immediately stops her. He says, "I've made it dirty. Wash it separately before bringing it."
Now, if I'm Singer, I'm thinking, wow, this guy is a snob. He thinks his germs are too special. Or maybe he's just a massive germaphobe.
Or that he's just being difficult for the sake of it. But Sanji sees the truth. He wasn't being fastidious for himself. He was being considerate of her.
Right.
He didn't want the women to have to drink from a vessel he felt he had soiled. He was protecting her dignity.
It's such a tiny moment, but it completely proves Sanji's point. Singer sees turbidity and chaos. Sanji sees a guy who is hyper-aware of other people's feelings to the point where he looks weird to the normies.
Sanji's is the only one who correctly identifies that Bao Yu prioritizes emotional truth over social ritual. She concludes that he gets along with girls because he understands them, but he doesn't fit the mold of the outside world, so he gets misunderstood.
Speaking of the outside world and gossip, the conversation naturally shifts to the topic everyone downstairs loves. Who is Bao Yu going to marry?
The eternal question in the Jia household.
And Shinker seems pretty confident about this, too. He lays it out like it's a done deal. He says Bao Yu is absolutely destined for Miss Lin Daiyu.
He does. He claims the only reasons they aren't officially married yet are her poor health and the fact that they're still a bit young. But listen to his prediction. He says in 3 or 2 years, the grandmother, old Tai Tai, will speak and it will be settled. He says there is no uncertainty.
No uncertainty. That absolutely kills me. Because if you follow Bai Yu and Dai Yu's internal monologues throughout the book, uncertainty is literally the only thing they feel. They're constantly anxious about whether this match will actually happen.
That's the brilliance of the author's irony here. The view from below stairs is that this is a lock. It's obvious. It's inevitable. But above stairs, in the actual hearts of the characters, it's a complete minefield of doubt. It really highlights how disconnected public perception is from private reality.
So we're deep in this gossip session, right? We're analyzing Bai Yu's love life, looking at the teacups and the monks, and then boom, reality crashes in. A servant named Longer bursts into the room. The master, Jialian, has a secret mission.
And it's not a casual business trip. He's being sent to Pinyin Zoo, or Peace Prefecture. The text calls it a machine secret, which implies something highly confidential, political, and maybe a bit dangerous.
The urgency is real. He has to leave in 3 to 5 days, and the trip itself is going to take about half a month. But before he goes, he has this one massive loose end he needs to tie up, which is Yu Sanji's marriage.
Right. He's been trying to find a match for her to get her settled, and with this dangerous trip looming, he needs to close the deal. He can't just leave her hanging while he's gone for weeks.
This is where the tone shifts completely. We go from snarky servant gossip to high drama. Yu Urji, the sister, basically tells Jialian, "Don't worry, go on your trip. Sanji has made a decision."
And it's not just a decision, it's an ultimatum. Sanji enters the chat, and she lays down terms that are breathtakingly absolute.
It's so intense. She says she isn't just looking for a husband. She is waiting for one specific man. She says, if he doesn't come for 1 year, I wait 1 year. If he doesn't come for 10 years, I wait 10 years.
And the kicker, what if he dies or never comes?
She says she will shave her head and become a nun, eat vegetarian, and chant Buddha's name for the rest of her life. There's no plan B. It's this guy. Or spiritual exile.
It's a completely binary choice, total devotion or total renunciation.
So who is the guy? Who inspires this kind of wait 10 years energy?
His name is Lu Shanglian. In the book, he's also known as Cold Erlang or Master Lu.
Cold Erlang. Not exactly a nickname that screams warm, emotionally available husband.
No, not at all. And the backstory makes it even more precarious. Sanji fell for him 5 years ago.
Wait, did they date? Did they write letters to each other?
Neither. She saw him acting in a play at her grandmother's birthday party. He was playing a Jiaxing role, which is a young male lead. She saw him on stage, saw his quality, and decided right then and there, that is the man. I will not marry anyone else.
That is just, wow. That is a massive amount of projection. She's in love with an image she saw on a stage half a decade ago.
It is the absolute definition of a parasocial relationship, magnified by incredibly high stakes. She is holding on to a memory of a performance.
What does Jia Lian think about all this? Because he actually knows Lu Xianglian, right?
He does know him. They're friends. And interestingly, Lu Xiangli is also best friends with Bao Yu, but Jilian's reaction is very telling. He admits she has an eye for quality. He agrees Lu is handsome and very capable, but he gives her a serious warning.
He warns her about his personality.
Yes. He describes Lu Xianglian as Baozi, beautiful, but cold-faced and cold-hearted. He uses the phrase wu qing wu yi, which means ruthless or lacking in sentiment. He says Lu is cold to almost everyone he meets.
This contrast is fascinating to me. We just spent the first half of the discussion defending Bao Yu, who is warm and turbid and profoundly empathetic. Sanji defends him. She gets him. But when it comes to her own choice, she picks the guy who is explicitly described as cold and ruthless.
It's a profound psychological contradiction. Maybe she feels that Bayu's warmth is too messy, too turbid. Maybe she thinks Lu's coldness represents a kind of purity or masculine strength. Or maybe, like a lot of people, she thinks she's the one woman who can finally melt the ice.
Whatever her reason is, she does not care about the warning. Jia Lian even points out that Lu is currently a fugitive.
Right, minor detail. Lu Xianglian actually beat up Su Pan the shoe idiot the previous year and had to flee the capital. Jia Lian says he has duckweed tracks and wave traces. He's a wanderer. He might not be back for years.
Duckweed tracks. That sounds so poetic for what is basically a homeless fugitive. But Sanji is totally unmoved. She doubles down, and to prove she's serious, she does something incredibly dramatic. She takes a jade hairpin out of her hair.
And she snaps it in two.
She just breaks it. She says, if one sentence is untrue, let it be like this hairpin.
You really have to visualize the physicality of this. Jade is tough. Breaking it takes actual force. It's a violent act. A broken hairpin is a traditional symbol of a broken bond or a life cut short. She is effectively saying, I will break myself before I break this vow.
And the change in her behavior after that is instant. It's like a switch flips in her brain.
Completely. Before this moment, she was chatting, joking, maybe a bit flirtatious with her brother-in-law, but the text says she immediately retreats to her room. She adopts non-ritual moving, non-ritual speaking.
Which means she starts acting like a widow.
Yes. Strict adherence to propriety. No more jokes. She starts eating vegetarian immediately. She puts herself on lockdown. She effectively becomes a nun before she even knows if he's coming back. The scene shifts abruptly. Have you ever seen a bitter rivalry instantly transform into an unbreakable bond of brotherhood?
Oh, it's wild when that happens.
Right. A situation where two people who just completely despised each other suddenly become willing to lay down their lives for one another.
Yeah. We get this concentrated dose of how quickly fortunes and relationships shift when the characters are removed from the stifling confines of the capital.
Right. Out on the road, the rules change entirely.
They really do.
Okay. We find Jia Lian traveling along the Pinyin Prefecture Road.
Not an easy journey.
No, not at all. He's been writing for 3 days. The text describes a grueling pace, traveling by day, resting by night.
Enduring severe hunger.
And thirst, yeah. It paints a picture of this harsh frontier that is just so far removed from the manicured gardens.
It's a completely different world out there.
Right. So right in the thick of this exhaustion, he crosses paths with a caravan, about a dozen people on horseback.
Just appearing out of nowhere.
Exactly. And as they approach, Jillian realizes he actually knows the leaders.
And this is where the isolation of the frontier forces a collision of characters who would normally be navigating a much wider, more complex social orbit back home.
It's Zhu Pan and Lu Xianglian.
Which is mind-blowing.
It catches Jillian entirely off guard. I mean, you know the history here. The last time these two crossed paths, it resulted in a violent, highly public disturbance.
A massive falling out.
Yeah, after which Lu vanished without a trace just to avoid the fallout, yet here they are.
Riding side by side.
Conversing easily. Jillian rides up, totally baffled, and they retreat to a tavern where Su Pan recounts this completely crazy rescue story.
Su Pan explains he was returning from a prosperous spring trading trip, feeling pretty safe.
Right, but he wasn't.
No. Just as he reached the Ping Prefecture border, bandits ambushed his caravan.
A total nightmare scenario for a merchant.
Exactly. They overwhelmed his guards, seized all his merchandise, and at that exact moment, out of nowhere, his former enemy, Lu Jianglian, intervenes.
Jumps right in.
He scatters the bandits with his martial prowess, recovers the stolen goods, and ultimately saves Zhu Pan's life.
And Zhu Pan, operating on his standard mercantile logic, immediately attempts to compensate Lu.
Of course he does.
He offers a massive reward, but Lu refuses the payment.
What's fascinating here is the clash and subsequent merging of class values. You have Zhu Pan, representing merchant class wealth, attempting to quantify Lu's martial, wandering honor through a financial transaction.
Trying to put a price tag on his life?
Right. But Lu's refusal of payment strips the encounter of its commercial nature. It forces a debt of life rather than a debt of silver.
Which leads to them becoming sworn blood brothers.
Instantly.
It's such a swift shift in dynamics. A shared brush with death seemingly erases a grudge that had fractured their social circles just months prior.
It underscores the fluidity of alliances when survival is on the line. The rigid social hierarchies soften on the frontier.
Yeah, they really do.
Zhu Pan's merchant capital and Lu's martial prowess, previously at odds, suddenly complement each other perfectly when that veneer of high society is stripped away.
Their future plans absolutely reflect this new synergy. Lu mentions heading south to visit an aunt,
Right.
while Zhu Pan plans to return to Beijing to settle his business affairs. And once that's done, Zhu Pan promises to purchase a house for Lu.
He wants to buy him a house and arrange a marriage for him.
So they can live as close as brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to integrate this wandering martial artist into his settled, affluent lifestyle.
And that mention of marriage acts as the catalyst for the next major movement in this chapter.
Jia Lian shifts instantly into salesman mode. He seizes the opportunity.
You really go.
He pitches a perfect match. Third sister Yu, the younger sister of his own newlywed wife. He frames it as an ideal arrangement that binds their networks together seamlessly.
Notice the critical detail Jia Lian deliberately omits during this pitch, though.
Oh, it's a huge omission.
He never mentions that third sister. You had already explicitly chosen Lu for herself long before this encounter.
He leaves that part completely out.
He packages the proposal entirely as his own diplomatic, brilliant matchmaking. The prevailing interpretation of this scene is that Jia Lian needs to maintain patriarchal control over the narrative.
Presenting her as a passive gift.
Exactly. A gift he is bestowing, rather than a woman exercising her own agency.
I see your point about maintaining authority, but couldn't we also read Jia Lian's omission as a practical way to protect third sister Yu's reputation?
How so?
Well, if word reached a wanderer like Lu that a woman back in the capital was forward enough to choose her own husband, it might actually jeopardize the match.
That's true.
He might view her as improper or lacking virtue according to the strict marital standards of the time.
That is a very fair counter-reading. Jia Lian is navigating a delicate social tightrope. He is protecting her societal standing while securing his own alliances.
Right.
But this brings us to the secret pact he forces on Zhu Pan right after the pitch.
Oh, this is a humorous but very telling detail. Jia Lian makes Zhu Pan swear not to tell his own family about Jia Lian's recent clandestine marriage to second sister Yu.
The condition being that Zhu Pan must keep quiet until Jia Lian officially has a son.
It highlights the deeply transactional nature of these domestic arrangements.
Precisely. A clandestine marriage without a male heir holds precarious legitimacy in this era.
It's risky.
Very. The birth of a son retroactively justifies the union within the broader family hierarchy, securing inheritance rights and social standing.
So Jia Lian is shielding his own domestic vulnerabilities while simultaneously playing matchmaker for someone else.
He's managing risk on multiple fronts.
So Lu is receptive to the proposal, but he lays down one strict, non-negotiable condition.
The bride must be a peerless beauty.
A peerless beauty. Jia Lian doesn't hesitate. He confidently guarantees she is one of a kind. Satisfied, Lu agrees to visit by mid-month to finalize the betrothal.
But an agreement made in a roadside tavern lacks the institutional weight of a formal arrangement in the capital.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Jia Lian suddenly pumps the brakes.
He realizes the problem of trust.
Yes, he tells Lu, I trust you, but I also know your nature. He characterizes Lu with the idiom water flowing and flowers falling.
Let's examine the linguistic weight of that idiom. Water flowing and flowers falling isn't just saying someone is a wanderer.
It's much deeper than that.
It carries a poetic connotation of fleeting beauty, impermanence, and a lack of attachment to earthly roots. It is an inherently unstable foundation for a binding social contract like marriage.
Jia Lian identifies the core risk. If Lu's water-flowing nature takes hold and he simply disappears, drifts away again.
Third Sister Shu's reputation is ruined.
Exactly. She becomes a woman publicly promised to a ghost. So Jia Lian demands a physical betrothal gift on the spot, a tangible guarantee.
He requires physical collateral to weigh down Lu's ethereal nature.
Lu, claiming the poverty of a traveler, says he lacks gold or silk, and he needs his standard sword for self-defense on the road.
So what does he offer?
He retrieves the only thing of value he has from his luggage, his family heirloom, the Yuan-Yang double swords.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the cultural weight of this gesture is profound. You know that Yuan-Yang refers to Mandarin decks.
Right, which symbolize inseparable romantic pairings in Chinese culture.
Exactly. Offering these specific swords acts as the ultimate collateral. It is Lu anchoring his duckweed nature, which is another term he uses to describe his rootless existence, to a permanent promise.
And the physical description of these weapons is just incredibly vivid. I want to describe this for you. The scabbard is heavily ornate, carved with dragons and mythical beasts, and it's encrusted with sparkling jewels.
The jeweled scabbard itself provides a sharp irony. A man claiming poverty on the road is carrying a king's ransom in gems on his hip.
Yet he views its value strictly in terms of lineage and honor.
Not commerce. He wouldn't dream of selling it, but he will surrender it for a vow.
And when you draw the hilt, you find two interlocking blades inside that single scabbard. One engraved Yuan, the male duck, the other Yang, the female duck. The metal is described as cold and bright as autumn water.
Consider the striking duality here. He is taking a lethal weapon, two blades forged for violence, and he's presenting it as a token of domestic harmony.
A tool of severing used as a bond of union.
It embodies the underlying tension of the entire novel. The friction between rigid social expectations and volatile human passions.
That friction is absolutely palpable when the narrative shifts from the open road back to the claustrophobic household in the city.
The contrast is stark.
While the men are out having these adventures, forging alliances, fighting bandits, and making grand plans in taverns, Second Sister Yu has placed her household under strict lockdown.
The expansive mobility of the men actively highlights the forced immobility of the women. Their lives are essentially put on pause.
And Third Sister Yu's psychological state is captured in this amazing phrase, resolute as chopping nails and slicing iron.
Let's dive into that imagery. Chopping nails and slicing iron is typically reserved for describing unyielding military resolve or a martial artist's discipline.
It's very intense.
Using it to describe a young woman waiting in a domestic setting is jarring. It contrasts the violent metallic imagery of her mental fortitude with the literal metallic violence of the swords she waits for. Her agency, unlike the men's physical agency on the road, is entirely internalized into sheer, unbending endurance. She endures lonely nights, isolating herself from outside affairs. She survives purely on the hope of his return.
Her entire existence is tethered to a promise.
Yes.
When Jia Lian returns home to the capital and presents the Yuan-Yang swords to her, she is overjoyed. She hangs them by her bed, looking at them daily. Those cold blades represent that her future is finally secure.
They are her soul tethered to the outside world. Her daily survival now pivots on the promise embodied in that steel.
But immediately after this intense emotional beat, the text delivers a really harsh reality check on the business side of things.
The dowry.
Right. Jia Lian goes to report the successful match to the patriarch, Jia Zhen. But Jia Zhen is totally distracted by new social acquaintances.
He doesn't care about the details at all.
He barely listens, tells Jia Lian to handle it however he sees fit, and just casually tosses him 30 taels of silver for the dowry preparations.
This detail requires us to look at the economic reality of the era. 30 taels of silver is not a negligible amount for a commoner.
Sure.
But for the leader of the immensely wealthy Jia family, funding a marriage that dictates a woman's entire fate, it is an insult. A modest banquet in their circles would cost significantly more.
So it's basically the equivalent of tipping a valet to handle a life-altering event.
Exactly. It points out the bitter irony here. Jia Zhen's casual, dismissive attitude toward the marriage perfectly contrasts with Third Sister's intense, life-defining devotion to it.
It really shows how little these women's fates matter to the powerful men in their orbit. The disparity in stakes is just staggering.
It truly is.
Despite Jia Zhen's dismissal, the plans move forward. We get all the pieces in place. August arrives, right on schedule, and Lu Zhanglian enters.
He immediately visits Aunt Shu and Shuki.
And the narrative adds a touch of humor from the text during this reunion. Shu Pan is sick in bed.
The wealthy merchant couldn't handle the reality of the road.
Right. Despite his grand tales on the road, he was unaccustomed to the harshness of travel. The wind, the frost, the bad water. His body gave out the moment he returned to luxury.
It humanizes him, but it also serves to physically humble the merchant class in the presence of the martial wanderer. Lu actually has to enter Su Pan's sick room to catch up.
And Aunt Shu harbors absolutely no resentment over their past feud. She has completely forgotten any old grudges.
She focuses entirely on her gratitude to Lu for saving her son's life.
And recovering their livelihood, yeah.
Yeah.
The family embraces him, informing him that everything for the wedding is prepared. They are merely waiting to select an auspicious date.
And Lu is overwhelmed with gratitude himself.
The promise made on a desolate road has materialized into a warm, welcoming family.
It creates the illusion of a perfect, harmonious resolution. Okay, let's shift scenes. We're grappling with a really heavy question right off the bat.
We really are.
Because we're asking, how much weight does a reputation actually carry? And, more importantly, what's the actual cost of second-guessing love?
Yeah, that's the core of it. Can a single moment of doubt, just one hesitation based on gossip, lead not only to tragic ruin, but also to a completely shattering spiritual awakening?
Right, which is a massive setup. But honestly, it's really the only way to approach the material we have for you today.
Exactly.
And I just want to say, for anyone who thinks classic literature is just, people sitting around drinking tea and writing poetry.
Oh, prepare to be surprised.
Seriously,
Yeah.
this reads like a psychological thriller.
It absolutely does. It goes from this light romantic engagement to a bloody tragedy and then straight into high-level philosophy in the span of just a few pages.
It gives you whiplash. We're unpacking the story of two central characters, Yu Sanji and Lu Xianglian.
So let's set the stage with these players. First, we have Yu Sonji.
Right.
And from the text, we get the sense that she is a woman of incredible, almost peerless beauty. But she's in a really precarious position.
Yeah, she has a pretty tarnished reputation.
She's essentially a woman in a trap. In the context of this novel, she's the stepsister of a woman who married into the Ningguo house.
And without getting completely bogged down in the massive family tree of this book.
Right, because it is massive.
Yeah, the important thing for you to know is that just her proximity to this specific house has ruined her name.
Exactly. She is seen as fallen or loose simply by association.
So she's marked. But she does have agency, doesn't she? I mean, she isn't just sitting around waiting to be saved.
Oh, no, quite the opposite, actually. She sees this particular marriage match as her one shot at redemption.
Her way out.
Yeah. She is actively trying to pivot from this chaotic past to a virtuous future. She has picked out the man she wants, and she genuinely believes this union will clean the slate.
And on the other side of this, we have the man in question, Lu Xianglian.
Yes.
And the text introduces him with a nickname that I think pretty much tells us everything we need to know.
The Cold Second Master.
The Cold Second Master.
It's such a great nickname.
It really is. He's a wanderer. He's an amateur actor, a martial artist. By all accounts, he's handsome, young, talented.
But the cold part of his name?
That refers to his emotional temperature.
Right.
He is deeply, deeply skeptical of the world. He prides himself on not being easily fooled.
He's kind of that guy who stands at the back of the party, just watching everyone else, thinking he sees through the facade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a woman desperate for redemption and a man who is professionally suspicious.
Which sounds like a total recipe for disaster. It is a powder keg. And the spark gets lit almost immediately in this chapter.
So the scene opens basically after Xianglian has agreed to marry Sanji.
He's engaged. He's met her brother-in-law on the road, they've struck a deal, and he's handed over a very significant pledge.
The Mandarin duck sword.
Yes. And we need to understand that in Chinese culture, Mandarin ducks are the ultimate symbol of lifelong coupling.
Because they mate for life, right?
Exactly. So handing over a Mandarin duck sword isn't just a casual gift.
It's a binding contract.
It absolutely is. It essentially says, I am yours.
Okay, so he's engaged, he should be thrilled. But instead, he goes to visit the protagonist of the novel, Bai.
And the dynamic here is fascinating.
It really is. They meet up, and the text says they are like fish in water.
Right. Very comfortable with each other. But Xianglian has a clear agenda here. He starts asking about Bayu's cousin, Jialian, and this secret marriage to Sanji's sister.
He's digging for information. He is actively fact-checking his own engagement.
Precisely. And Bayu, being Bayu, who is often depicted as a bit naive or just purely good-natured, he confirms it.
He says, I heard the rumors from the servants, but I don't get involved.
Right. But then Bayou flips the script and starts congratulating Zhang Lian. He's like, big joy, big joy.
He tells him he's engaged to a peerless beauty who is just a perfect match for him.
This is where that cold second master mentality really kicks in.
Because most guys, if you tell them, hey, your fiancé is a peerless beauty, they'd be high-fiving you.
Oh, absolutely. But Zhang Lian, his internal calculus immediately goes negative.
Right.
He hears peerless beauty, and instead of being excited, his guard just shoots up. He starts doing the math in his head.
He's thinking, if she is such a peerless beauty in this massive, chaotic city, why wasn't she snatched up by someone powerful already?
That is incredibly cynical. He's basically thinking, what's the catch?
Exactly. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably a trap.
He also starts questioning the rush. He's thinking about how hurriedly this engagement was settled on the road.
And he starts to really regret his pledge. He gave her his heirloom, the Mandarin duck sword, and now he's panicking, thinking he acted way too fast.
So he pushes Baoyu. He wants the real dirt. He says to him, you're a smart guy, tell me the truth.
And this is the turning point. Baoyu reveals that Sanji is related to the Ningguo house. She's the stepsister of a sister-in-law there.
And this is the moment everything just explodes.
It's the Stone Lions moment.
Yes, it is one of the most famous, most devastating insults in the entire book.
When Jiang Lian hears she is connected to that specific house, his reaction is completely visceral.
He exclaims, the only clean things in that house are the 2 stone lions. I'm afraid even the cats and dogs aren't clean.
That is scorched earth. Even the cats and dogs aren't clean.
He is completely condemning the entire household. He's basically saying it's a den of absolute iniquity.
It implies this total moral rot.
Exactly. He is saying that anyone who even breathes the air in that house is sexually compromised. And by extension, Sanji must be dirty too.
He doesn't even need to meet her. The address alone is enough to condemn her in his eyes.
And look at Bayu's reaction to this. The text explicitly notes that Bayu blushes.
Ooh, the blush. That is so telling.
It really is. It implies that Bayu knows the reputation of the Ningguo house is terrible, and he can't even honestly defend it.
He's caught.
Yeah. And Zhang Lian realizes he's just insulted Bayu's family right to his face, so he apologizes for speaking too freely. But the damage is completely done.
Right. Zhang Lian makes a decision right then and there. He says, I am not going to be a leftover turtle.
Which is a pretty derogatory term.
It's a slur. It refers to a cuckold or a man who marries a woman with a promiscuous past. Someone who takes the leftovers of other men.
It's a direct attack on his own masculinity and his social status. He decides the engagement is 100% off. He cannot go through with it.
So he marches straight off to find Jielian, the guy who set this whole thing up.
And this confrontation is just incredibly awkward.
Zhang Lian finds him, acts all polite, calling him old uncle, but he's really there to drop a bomb.
But notice the tactic he uses here. He doesn't say, I think your sister-in-law is promiscuous.
Right.
He doesn't say, I think your house is dirty. He lies.
He basically ghosts her to her face, essentially.
He tries to save face for everyone involved. He tells Jielian, oh, I just remembered my aunt actually betrothed me to someone else back in April, so I can't marry Sanji. I need my sword back.
The my aunt made me do it excuse. Classic. It's not you, it's my family.
It's social maneuvering at its finest. He thinks he's being so clever, but Jielian isn't buying it easily at all.
No, Jielian argues that a betrothal is binding. He says, fixed means fixed.
He knows that marriage isn't something you can just walk in and out of because you suddenly changed your mind. He refuses to return the sword immediately. He wants to talk it out.
But here's the critical part. While they are arguing in the outer room, we get this massive reveal.
Tianji.
Yes, Sanji, the very woman in question, is in the inner room. And the walls are thin.
She hears every single word.
This is the moment of devastating realization for her.
The text says she realizes Jielian has heard the gossip about the Ningguo house. She understands exactly what is happening out there.
He doesn't view this as a scheduling conflict with an aunt. He views her as promiscuous and shameless.
It's heartbreaking because we know she was genuinely pinning her hopes on this.
She wanted to turn over a new leaf.
And now, the exact man she chose is rejecting her based entirely on rumors before he's even really met her.
It completely shatters her hope for redemption. She realizes that no matter what she does, she cannot escape this negotiation of her worth.
She decides she isn't going to let these men haggle over her like she's damaged goods.
And I really want to drill into this for a second.
Yeah.
Because her reaction, It's not what a modern audience might expect at all.
Not even slightly.
She doesn't storm out and scream at him. She doesn't try to explain herself or show him receipts to prove she's changed.
No, and this is where we really have to get into the deep cultural context of shame in the novel.
Right.
In this specific society, a woman's reputation is quite literally her life. Once Yang believes she is dirty, her life is effectively over.
There's no court of appeal for her.
Exactly. She realizes that any attempt to explain herself would just be seen as begging, and she flat out refuses to beg.
So she decides to take total control of the narrative.
Violently. She
Yeah.
walked out of the room, and the description here is just haunting. She's not crying in a hysterical way. She's not begging. She has the sword right in her hand.
She interrupts their argument. She tells them there's no need to discuss it any further. She says she is returning the betrothal gift right now.
And this next part, the description is incredibly specific.
She's crying, tears falling like rain, but her actions are so focused.
Yes. The text says she holds the scabbard with her left hand and hands it directly to Xianglian, but with her right hand,
She takes the blade,
and she draws it across her throat.
just like that.
Just like that.
The imagery the author uses is stunning, but it's horrific. Quote, rubbed, crushed peach blossoms cover the ground. The jade mountain leans and cannot be supported.
Crushed peach blossoms. It's a very potent metaphor for destroyed beauty.
And the jade mountain falling is her body collapsing.
It's the suddenness of it that gets you. 1 minute they are bickering about a marriage contract, and the next minute she is dead on the floor.
The room just goes into total shock. Chaos erupts. Jillian, her brother-in-law, he wants to have Xianglian arrested immediately.
He grabs him, he orders the servants to bind him and send him straight to the magistrate. He is furious.
But then we have Yu Urji, Sanji's sister, intervening.
And her logic here is fascinatingly pragmatic given the horrific situation.
She's crying. Obviously, she's devastated. But she tells Jillian to stop.
She argues that this was suicide, not murder. If they drag Zhang to court, it will only, quote, make ugly matters worse.
She's worried about the scandal. Even with her own sister dead on the floor, the reputation of the house remains paramount.
She literally says, let him go. It saves trouble.
It really highlights the suffocating nature of reputation in this society.
Reputation is the oxygen they breathe.
Yeah.
A full murder trial would air all the dirty laundry about the Ningbo house that Zhang Lian was afraid of in the first place, so they just hush it up.
But amidst all this chaos, look at Xianglian. He is completely stunned. He doesn't run away.
Yeah.
He doesn't celebrate dodging a bullet.
No, and this is the part that feels so tragically ironic. He looks at her body and says, I didn't know she was such a rigid, virtuous wife.
He calls her stalwart.
That is the bitter, bitter pill of this whole story. Her suicide serves as undeniable proof of her virtue to him.
Exactly. In his mind, only a woman of true virtue would have the honor to kill herself to prove her innocence.
Right. A loose woman would have argued or taken the money or just moved on to the next guy.
By dying, she proved him completely wrong.
He falls in love with her corpse because it's the only version of her he feels he can actually trust.
That is incredibly dark. He couldn't love the living woman because of gossip, but he can suddenly love the dead woman because of her sacrifice.
It reveals the absolute hollowness of his skepticism. His coldness protected him from being tricked, sure, but it also ensured he destroyed the one real thing he was ever offered.
He stays to weep over her coffin. He is utterly broken by this.
So the funeral happens, Shanglian leaves, and he's described as walking out dazed and confused.
He's in a total fog.
Yeah.
And this is exactly where the story takes a very sharp turn into the supernatural.
It shifts gears entirely. He's walking, lost in thought, and suddenly he enters this dream state, or perhaps it's a vision.
He sees a servant leading him into what looks like a bridal chamber.
Which is exactly what he threw away. He enters, and there she is. You, Senji.
But she's not the bloody figure on the floor anymore.
No, she's holding the Mandarin Duck's sword, and she has a registry book.
A registry book, like she's checking guests into a hotel.
A cosmic hotel, basically.
She tells him she is on a mission from the goddess of disenchantment. She's registering at the land of illusion.
But her message to him is what's crucial here. She says, I waited for you with foolish passion for 5 years.
5 years.
It implies a karmic bond, a spiritual connection that completely transcended the physical timeline of the plot.
She says she waited, but his heart was cold.
There's that word cold again, referencing his nickname, the Cold Second Master. She says she died to repay that foolish love.
And now she has a new job.
Essentially, yes. She has become a love ghost or a sentimental ghost.
And her farewell to him is incredibly final. She says, I came from the realm of love. I return to the realm of love. Since I have washed away shame and awakened, I have nothing to do with you anymore.
I have nothing to do with you anymore. That is such a slam.
She washed away her shame with her own blood, and now she's ascending. She's leaving him behind.
She literally vanishes in a gust of fragrant wind. She has completed her destiny. She achieved a form of enlightenment through her passion.
She burned so bright she transcended death itself.
But Xianglian, however, is left behind.
And he wakes up. And this is the ultimate cold reality check.
Yeah.
He's not in a beautifully decorated bridal chamber. He's in a ruined temple.
The contrast is incredibly stark. There's no fragrant wind here, just a dilapidated old building.
And sitting nearby is a lame Taoist priest who is catching lice.
Catching lice. We went from a pristine, goddess-like figure to a guy literally picking bugs off himself.
It's so grounding.
It's highly deliberate. It's the contrast between the red dust, which is the world of passion, romance, and illusions, and the void.
The Taoist is catching lice because he is purely existing in the physical reality. He doesn't care about reputation or romance or swords.
Anglian asks him, "Where is this? Who are you?"
And the Taoist just laughs. He says, "Even I don't know where this is or who I am. I'm just resting my feet."
That's such a heavy answer. I don't know who I am.
It's the ultimate expression of the void. The Taoist represents the complete release from identity, from reputation, from the red dust of the mortal world.
And this triggers the final massive transformation for Zhenglian.
The text says he feels a sensation like cold ice penetrating his bones.
There's that coldness again.
Yes, this is his actual enlightenment. But it's not a warm, fuzzy enlightenment where everything makes sense and you feel peaceful.
Not at all. It's absolute zero. It's a total disillusionment. He realizes that the passion, the regret, the engagement, the reputation, the shame, it's all entirely meaningless.
So he takes the sword, the male sword, the one he insisted on taking back from Jillian.
And he doesn't kill himself with it.
No. He uses it to cut off his hair.
10,000 threads of trouble.
Exactly. In this cultural context, hair represents worldly attachments, your worries, your societal status.
It connects you to your family, your ancestors, your place in society.
By cutting it off, he is permanently severing his ties to the world. He is essentially deleting his identity.
And he just follows the mad Taoist away. He disappears into the unknown.
Unknown where they went. That's exactly how the chapter ends.